So when it comes to repairing a relationship, there can be this kind of internal struggle that can happen. On one hand, you want to repair the relationship. On the other hand, you want to stand up for your needs and your wants and have the relationship be different, something that works for both of you. And ultimately, this can lead to a lot of ping-ponging back and forth, this kind of overthinking cycle. So in this video, I'm going to break down how to stand up for your own needs while still repairing the relationship. I'm going to talk about the 2 harmful patterns that are created, and then I'm going to talk about a clear 3-step blueprint to stand up for your needs whilst also turning your relationship around. So there is a lot of traditional relationship advice out there that will tell you one of 2 things. One, that you need to give everything to your partner. You need to do everything they say, everything they want. You should be completely selfless and always put your partner first. Then there's the other side of things, which is you should take everything you can. You should stand up for yourself. You should always get exactly what you want. Your partner should always accept you for who you are, no matter what you do or how you do it. And the problem with both of this, hopefully you've kind of spotted it, is that when it comes to relationships, and especially when it comes to relationship repair, it can feel like one of you has to lose in order for the other person to win. You know, if your partner gets what they want, then you have to lose. If you get what you want, then your partner has to lose. And this is not just some coincidence. This is a mindset that is prevalent throughout society, ultimately. This is what we call zero-sum thinking. And this zero-sum thinking not only destroys relationships from the inside out, but it also prevents relationships from ever being repaired in the first place. The problem comes that a lot of people approach relationship fights, conflicts, as business negotiations, where there are a limited amount of resources and someone's ultimately got to sacrifice. And this is very prevalent in us guys, unfortunately. Sorry guys, but it's true. You know, we can bring this kind of fix-it mindset from our work life into the home life. And this zero-sum mindset creates a fundamental misunderstanding of what relationships actually are. The zero-sum mindset can be simplified into these 2 states. 1, in order for me to win, they must lose. And 2, in order for them to win, I must lose. And this mistake is prevalent, especially when it comes to trying to fix a relationship. When we're falling into this idea that if we win, we need to come out on top of them. And if they win, if they get what they want, then I am somehow losing part of myself. When you're viewing your partner's needs as a direct threat to your own, you've already lost before the conversation even starts. And this is especially true when it comes to relationship repair. We think that by doing something for our partner or ex-partner, we are losing part of ourselves. We are giving some vital resource away to someone who ultimately doesn't deserve it. Or that if we're trying to repair a relationship, they should be asking for us back. They should be doing whatever they can to give us what we want in order to move the relationship forward. And this is super problematic. It's crucial to know that relationships are not battlefields. They are partnerships. Even when your relationship is broken up, you are still within a relationship with that other person, even though they are on the way out. When you approach relationship repair with this mindset of only one person can win, this prevents you from ever being able to repair the relationship in the first place. The truth is, no matter what state a relationship is in, whether it's in a good place, a terrible place, a breaking up place, there's still relationships, partnerships where both people can win simultaneously. When you get caught in this zero-sum thinking, you have to have one winner and one loser. And you treat this relationship as a transaction. You tally every sacrifice and expect equal compensation from your partner. You know, I did the dishes 3 times this week, so you owe me sex, you owe me a meal out, you owe me something in return. Ultimately, these actions transform acts of supposed care into weapons of resentment. And there is science and psychology behind this. Your brain actually physically changes during these interactions. When you perceive a threat in your relationship, like your partner asking for, space away from you, or maybe the opposite, they're asking for more quality time, they're complaining that they don't get enough time with you, your brain threat response activates, and it literally shuts down your prefrontal cortex, which is the front of your brain, the part that is responsible for empathy and rational decision making. And this explains why even the most logical brained people can become completely illogical during relationship conflicts. Your brain doesn't process the information normally. It operates in survival mode, and it can prioritize immediate emotional responses over thoughtful planning and logical communication. And the cost of this zero-sum thinking is massive. It creates emotional distance between you and your partner or your ex-partner, and it erodes the trust at the foundation of the relationship. If you and your partner are in a rough patch right now, or even if you split up, having this zero-sum thinking mindset is going to come out with every interaction or every non-interaction that you're having. This can lead to you, communicating with your partner 1 minute, wanting to repair the relationship, and then deciding, no, actually, I don't want to repair the relationship. I want to back off. She should be contacting me. And then you go silent, and it becomes an inconsistent pattern where you're showing up and you stop showing up, and you flip-flop back and forth. And this erodes trust massively. And ultimately, this impacts your partner as well. Both of you start to begin feeling constantly threatened. You're walking on eggshells. You're waiting for the next attack. And ultimately, as you're trying to build a relationship that is supposed to be your safe place, your safe haven, this becomes the source of your stress. And this is why your partner starts to drift further and further away. Because in this zero-sum thinking, you end up being forced into one of two toxic roles. Either you abandon yourself completely to keep the peace, to stop things from escalating further, or you abandon your partner to protect yourself. So I'm going to break down these two toxic patterns that come from this zero-sum thinking. And, before I jump into this, obviously there's only so much that I can dive into. If you do want to deeper dive into all of this and understanding how relationships work and ultimately how to repair, build, and grow healthy relationships from the ground up, then join me on my relationship bootcamp, where you'll learn the same steps and tools that all of my successful members start with in order to repair their relationship. Just click on the link in the description to grab your spot. So when you're trapped in this zero-sum thinking, you're playing one of two losing games. Both end with your relationship in ruins. And a lot of people don't even realize they're switching between these toxic patterns. So the first is sacrificing everything for peace. The second, is protecting yourself at all costs. The first approach can actually be just as damaging as the selfish one. The very first toxic pattern is this self-abandonment, this martyr complex. So this is where you're consistently sacrificing your own needs, constantly putting your partner or your ex-partner first. And this feels noble, but this creates this really devastating psychological damage. This chronic self-sacrifice directly causes depression. It builds a volcano of resentment over time. You can start to expect your partner to somehow read your mind and recognize all of your sacrifices. When you're trying to repair a relationship, you're trying to put all this pressure onto your partner saying, look, I'm changing for you. I'm doing all of these things for you. Why don't you want me back? Why are you not attracted to me anymore? And when you build up this expectation within your mind of what they should be doing, and when they inevitably fail to reciprocate in the exact way that you imagined, them running back into your arms and saying, everything's fine, everything's perfect, don't worry about it, I love you forever, we'll always be together forever, forget everything I ever said, this resentment that builds up inside erupts. When you're becoming a people pleaser, you're not actually being selfless. You're creating a dangerous debt system. I did all of these things for you, so you owe me. The problem is that your partner never agreed to these terms. If you and your partner have broken up and you're trying to make all these changes, which is a good thing, but if you're building up this score at the back of your mind and your partner isn't showing an interest or isn't coming back to you in the way that you expected, you've created an agreement that your partner never signed off on. Your partner never agreed to the terms that you have put out there. So inevitably, you will feel disappointed and you will start to have this resentment. But it's not just about giving up. There's the flip side on it. This is the partner abandonment. This is where you become a dictator. So here is where you prioritize your own needs without any consideration. You dismiss your partner's concerns as their problem. And especially when it comes to repairing a relationship, a lot of people get into this mindset of, they're my ex now, so therefore, why should I bother trying to repair the relationship? Why should I be nice? Why should I do anything for them? I don't owe them anything. They chose to walk, so I'm not going to improve. I'm not going to change. I'm not going to grow. Everything that they do, they chose to do it by themselves. So therefore, I'm never going to offer any help. I'm never going to be there for them. I'm not going to try and repair any part of the relationship because they don't want to be with me. And you can get into this mindset of becoming critical, becoming judgmental, by looking at them as someone beneath you, as talking down to them, as, if you see your partner exploring other relationships, you can start to label them with all of these judgmental labels. And we can justify this behavior as honesty or authenticity. But actually, it becomes very selfish, very self-centered behavior that creates a massive emotional distance between you and your partner. Even if you're not talking currently with your partner, the more that you get into this mindset of you don't owe them anything and you look down on what they're doing, you are creating an emotional distance so that when they do eventually talk with you again, or when they communicate with you, this resentment and judgment comes out when you communicate in a very, very subtle way. It creates a bigger barrier between you and your partner as the relationship deteriorates even further due to your complete lack of empathy and connection. And the worst part about this, how destructive it can get, is that a lot of people swing between these two extremes. So you sacrifice everything and accommodate up until you get resentment. Then this resentment becomes unbearable and you overcorrect with selfish behavior as a form of protecting yourself. And this cycle is something that happens within yourself. This is something that you create within yourself. And it becomes increasingly difficult to break. This back and forth constantly creates so much damage to trust, because what you're showing is a complete lack of consistency. If you were just one extreme, it's bad enough, but at least they know exactly what to expect. But when you're ping-ponging back and forth, it breaks trust down even further. And this is what can often lead to a lot of partners deciding to stonewall while they get some space, while they figure out how to handle this constant roller coaster of emotions. So this leaves the question, how do you break out of this pattern and start to create a collaborative environment, especially when you're trying to repair a relationship? Breaking free from this fear requires more than just recognizing the problem. It requires a complete rewiring about how you approach conflicts, communication, and repairing a relationship. So now that we understand the battlefield, let's explore the 3 keys to a collaborative win-win approach. So the very first mindset shift is transparency. So this isn't about sharing information. It's about having the courage and authenticity to express your expectations, your needs, without apologizing or diminishing them, or without aggressively demanding it. When you practice transparency, coming from a perspective of, here are just my feelings, you replace defensive communication with radical honesty about what's really going on inside you. This is especially true when it comes to repairing a relationship. Oftentimes, people can think, if I'm going to be transparent, then I need to constantly talk about all my feelings, all the resentment that I've felt towards my partner, or I'm going to climb it all up inside and I'm never going to say anything because I know that it's going to upset them. But it's about coming from a middle ground, about being able to understand yourself, your feelings, your thoughts, and being able to express them in an effective way as you are rebuilding a relationship. You know, during breakups, especially marriages or relationships that have been long-term and maybe there's kids involved or there's housekeeping that has to happen, being able to communicate in a deeply effective way without putting aside your expectations, your needs, your wants is going to be really crucial. And it's going to be really crucial in building that healthy relationship, even outside a breakup. The second mindset shift is teamwork, which fundamentally reorients how you conceptualize what people see as conflicts. You know, people can see this is one need, this is another need, and they are completely incompatible. But that is not the way that it works. So many people see things that are seemingly contradictory, seemingly at odds. But actually, when you dig deeper, when you approach things in a certain way, being able to understand the core need and talk about the needs underneath the initial want, it becomes a lot easier to find a synchronization, to find a win-win. And it all starts with approaching it as you and your partner or ex-partner versus the problem. You know, if you follow sports, you'll never see good professional sports players in the interviews after the game blaming their teammates for the losses. They approach things from a teammate perspective. And this applies when it comes to relationships as well. Even if you and your partner have broken up, being able to still see things from a teammate perspective means that you're always focused on the important thing, which is the challenge that you're facing. You know, a lot of people will get to this point and say, how can I approach the problem if my partner won't even speak to me? But if you think about it, that is the problem within itself. The problem is that your partner has this expectation of how communication has happened in the past. So by looking at the problem and being able to say to yourself and being able to go, that is something that I want to improve. I want to improve my communication so that I can lead conversations. You're still addressing the problem regardless. Think about how this transforms the next time that you communicate. The next time you do get in contact with your partner, you're going to be approaching things in a very, very different way. And this in itself will show your partner that you're addressing the problem rather than seeing them as the enemy and them as the problem. And doing this, regardless of whether your partner is in the relationship with you or not, is a very attractive quality and rebuilds attraction within the relationship as well. It not only rebuilds attraction, but it also rebuilds trust within the relationship as well, because it shows that you're willing to stand up and do the right thing regardless of the situation right now. And the third mindset shift is empathy. So being able to build this as a skill is going to be really crucial in repairing the relationship moving forward. So rather than assuming that you know what your partner's thinking, actually becoming more curious about it. This doesn't mean that you have to ask your partner questions, but being able to put yourself in your partner's shoes and say to yourself, what is my partner thinking right now? What could they be doing? Could my assumption of their actions be different to what I initially thought? You know, building empathy as a skill doesn't require you abandoning your own viewpoint. This is about being able to build a skill of holding two seemingly contradictory realities in the same place. This is what a lot of people refer to as dialectics. This is two opposites being able to exist in the same reality at the same time. As you're building this empathy skill, you're understanding that your partner's perspective does not negate your own. And this means that you approach conversations without feeling fragile, without feeling like you are under attack from your partner's opinion. You're allowing your partner's opinion to exist. You're allowing your opinion to exist. And then you're able to approach things from a win-win perspective. And obviously, like I said, I can only go so deep into all of these mindset shifts and ideas. But when you practice all of these skills together, these mindset shifts create a really powerful framework for not only resolving conflict, but also being able to repair the relationship. Now, of course, this takes time, and there's going to be ups and downs along the way, but being able to be steadfast in your changes and being able to grow the relationship is going to be a long-term skill that is going to be useful in every relationship that you have. Ultimately, creating a win-win, especially when it comes to repairing a relationship, is about understanding and creating systems that work. Systems that work to repair a relationship. Systems that work in order to build the underlying relationship above all else. Now, I've done a deeper dive video on systems, which I'll link to on the screen, but being able to keep that focus on the underlying systems of the relationship and not on your partner as an opponent will allow you to focus on rebuilding trust long-term through actions rather than trying to persuade your partner to see your point of view or persuade your partner to reconcile with you. So I'll leave you with that deep dive video, and I will see you over there.